Apiary is a competitive game about science fiction bees exploring space and creating awesome space colonies. Very nice theme, very original and just fun, with also amazing art. Mechanically, this is a competitive tableau building worker placement game with a couple of twists about how the workers work, and in particular how their power and effectiveness changes over time. The game can be played with up to 4 players and also has a 5 players actually, forgive me, and also has a solitaire version, and I played both multiplayer and solo. And as a matter of fact, the game right now is set up for the solo game, so I'm likely to then play a solo game after I film this segment and before I film the conclusions. So, as we were saying, this is a worker placement game where the workers have values that change over time. So these are our workers, our little bees, or I don't know, that's like the little starships that they used to go around, and they have values from 1 to 4. They sit on their docking mat or on the board, and the value that they show is their current value. And you start with different pools with different values depending on the faction that you choose at the beginning of the game. It's a worker placement, so when you are selecting an action, you will take a bee from your docking mat, which is usually not on the board. I'm placing it there just to show you. And you place it on the corresponding action and you activate the action of that space. So far, if you know worker placement games, so good, pretty familiar. Each space has a special effect that is triggered when you place a value for worker there. The car space is special because it only accepts bees with value of 4. But again, the other ones, regular action with any value, action plus a bonus with 4. Other people are gonna also want to use those spaces, right? And they can choose a space where there is already a worker. Heck, you yourself can choose a space with one of your workers. When a new worker goes to a space that already is there, the owner can place it back in their landing area on the docking mat, in which case nothing happens for now, and it stays at the same value. Suppose that was a 3, it is bumped back to the landing area, stays a 3. Or I can also choose, when my worker is bumped by anybody, to immediately place it back in the active pool, increasing the value by 1. So my 3 that is bumped, if I want it to be available right away, becomes a 4. There's also the action of retrieving. When all or some of my bees are out there, then I can take the action of retrieving them, and then when they come back, they immediately increase their value by 1, and also that is when the bees in the landing area increase the value by 1 and become available again. As you retrieve your bees, they also pick up stuff on the way back home. You will have these tiles called farm tiles that you will probably want to build in your personal tableau, and each bee that comes back during the retrieve action can collect the bonus indicated next to that symbol. For example, collecting fiber, collecting victory points, collecting water, and advancing on the Queen's Favor track. They collect that bonus from the farms that you have on your tableau as they come back as part of the retrieve action. Now, 4 is the maximum, so when you're retrieving something from a 4, they actually don't really come back. Well, the game piece doesn't. Conceptually, what happens is that it's time for the 4-level bee to hibernate. So instead of going back to your docking mat, the piece is actually placed in the grow area, and it represents a new potential recruit. And you take one of these tokens from your docking mat representing hibernating bees, and you place it in the hibernation column. And you choose an available space. You will collect a resource. For example, if I hibernate there, I get to collect a honey pot. And that's the way it is. That's what happens. So then I will need to grow new bees, because when they're bumped after being level 4, they hibernate that way. The hibernation tokens in the hibernation com also represent the timer of the game, because the game will be over when either the hibernation com is full, or a section based on number of players is full, or a player has used all of their hibernation tokens. That also, either of those conditions trigger the end of the game, and at that point you score points, and you collect points for from a lot of sources. This is a bit of a point salad or beehive or honey cake. Either way, you collect points from all sources, and the player with the highest total wins the game. As I said, you have your own mat where you will be building your tableau. There are variable mats with different configurations, and variable tiles with different starting tiles. So huge variety here, but the starting tiles will indicate with a green border on a space which resources you get at the beginning of the game, and also you have a number of storage spaces there. And that is also where, again, you see those hexes I showed you earlier, those tiles, you'll place them here to extend your colony. A further way is to use these tiles that are called frames, and you can also attach them to your colony. If you fill your original colony, you will score 8 points at the end of the game. These other tiles, which are called frames, also you'll score 4 points if you fill them at the end of the game. You see there are printed bonuses there. You will collect them when you place a tile on top of a certain bonus. And this is kind of the general idea of your mats. Oh, and other things, there are seed cards, there are action cards with special advantages. You can also take actions to plant a seed card, in which case you tuck it under your mat, and all that you leave showing is a special effect that will give you points at the end of the game based on different conditions. So that's the general idea. Your bees are gonna be on your docking mat. They are gonna go out there to perform actions. From time to time they come back. Some of your actions may be to build parts of your colony, and those tiles go on the mat that I just showed you. Now for the actions themselves that we have available, there is the action of exploring. When you take that action, you move the queen ship, which is this ship here, by a number of spaces equal to or up to the total indicated up there. So for example, there it is a 2 and I place a 1. Now the queen ship can move up to 3 spaces orthogonally. Yeah, some actions have 2 spaces available, and so I can move it up to 3, 1, 2, 3. For example, if I land in a space that has a token, I collect it, I collect the bonus printed on it, then I draw a planet, because we just found the planet. And the planet may have printed resources, has spaces there, where I can add another resource showing, oh, I found that. So now that planet produces pollen and fiber. I collect whatever it says, and some of those planets also have advantages that are triggered if the action that you're using to reach that planet was triggered with a level 4 bee. Remember, there are bonuses for the bee, and that's, for example, that would be an advantage that you gain if you land on that planet with an action triggered by your level 4 bee. And so it's a good and quick way to collect resources. You use those resources for a variety of things, such as buying tiles to add to your colony. There are 3 types of tiles. You got the farmer, you got the specialist, and you got the development. Again, the value of the things that you place there will change what's available. As you can see, you total the value, and if it's 2 or more, 3 or more, 5 or more columns become available. To purchase a tile, first it needs to be in the area that that is unlocked by the value of the workers placed there. Then you had to pay the cost printed at the bottom. For example, you gotta pay wax, or you gotta spend pollen, or fiber, and or water. Then you take the corresponding tile and you place it on your mat. Farm gives you storage spaces and things you collect when you perform the retrieve actions. Recruits will give you special abilities. Also, each tile may potentially give you victory points. And these are abilities that will last for the rest of the game. Development gives you powerful one-time abilities printed here on top, plus again victory points. So this is how you grow your colony. And if you place a level 4 there, you score extra points. Converting, that's how you trade resources from one type to another. I got a lot of pollen, I need more fiber, I need more honey. Then you place a worker there, and the number of trades that you can make is equal to the value of the bee that you place there. So I can make 3 trades based on this conversion. If I place a 4, I can teach more conversion options. So I can use these tiles to create what is called a dance. And these tiles also, there is a number of them, so they'll change every time. Suppose in this game I placed a 4 there, I can teach a new dance, and now in this game people can take the action of trading a fiber and a water for 2 victory points and a card. And if I do that, everybody admires the fact that I created that option, so I mark it there and I will get advantages when people use it. Carving is when you get really good scoring tokens. Again, everything has a lot of supernumerary options, just to show you how few of the carving tiles are used in a single game. So again, showing you huge variety of gameplay depending on what tiles go there. But you can only place a 4, but it's very good to have these carving tiles for scoring abilities. The grow is when we get new workers, because again, remember, they retire, and so you place them there. Oh, I can also upgrade a tile if I place a 4 there. Each starting tile has an upgraded value, has an upgraded side with different advantages. And I can also spend strength and resources to create new bees that are placed there. Also to spend strength and resources to buy these frames that are added to my colony. You may remember that. Research, if I go there, I will draw a number of cards equal to the value, so the higher, the more options I get. I get to choose and keep one, and we said they have a top advantage and they have an advantage that has an end game effect if you planted, and you planted by placing a 4 there. Different actions, and also if you have more resources that you can store, will allow you to advance on the Queen's Favor track that will have victory points at the end of the game. We talked about the hibernation calm, and that's the general idea. That's the idea, that's the game. Place your workers, trigger actions, see them become stronger and more powerful and unlocking more abilities until they retire, and the game continues until the end of the game is triggered. Score points from a lot of different sources, from tiles, from cards, from those other tiles up there, from anything at points that you will have collected during the end of the game. Total them all up, and the player with the highest score wins the game. So this game also comes with a true solo option, meaning you don't have to play it multiplayer two-handed solo. And the automa is very simple. You have a deck of cards, they're printed back and front, and when it's the automa's turn, you flip a card, and then you go from top to bottom to see the action that the automa takes, and from time to time there's a direction in which things go, or a certain resource that needs to be selected, or a type of bee that is going to be selected, and the top of the card, the back of the card on top of the stack gives you that. So it's the interaction between the top of the back of the card on top of the stack and the one you just drew. But it's very simple. Sometimes it's like, okay, the automa places a bee there and scores a point, or a certain amount of points. Of course, the automa will take tiles from the area where you also will want to buy them. And so it simulates the progression, the advancement, and then the taking away of stuff that human players would if you were playing against them. And it works very well, very smoothly. So I like this game. I like this game a lot. It has a very cool, very neat space of decision. In the last 15 years or so, we may not have had so many innovations in game design in terms of new mechanics like we had in the early 2000s. Then we had worker placements, deck building, drafting, and so on and so forth. But designs kept refining and adding more spaces, more opportunities for decision around those base mechanics. And so our workers used to just go there and perform the work. Now they grow old and become stronger. And so the timing element becomes important because certain actions are available only after the bee reaches a certain level. Or, in any case, they are better after the bee reaches a certain level, but when your worker reaches that probably is also time to hibernate. And so the way that works is very nice. The hibernation mode has its own area majority element because having the most in a certain area, so the hibernation module gives you more points. Generally speaking, you have all of these elements that could potentially go in all directions, but actually they congeal, they come together very well. The experience feels very cohesive. The way in which the mechanics one lead to another. I need new space and new resources to collect stuff, and then I convert it, and then I get that bonus, which lets me buy the card tile. I'm gonna explore space because that also gives me a lot of new resources, but also may give you more scoring options because again the board changes depending on which planets are selected, are drawn. So you have a lot of variety with the planets, the carving tiles, the buildings. There's no way, especially if you're playing with 2-3 players, you're gonna see all of those buildings. Huge variety that comes from the fact that the game includes many more components that you will use in each game. So the general principles, once you get the idea, are very intuitive because collect resources, spend them to get tiles or building and carving tiles and figure out the best ways to hibernate your beast. The principles are simple, but you're gonna see different kinds of interaction based on which elements are going to be available in any given game. The components look amazing, the art is great, the production in terms of the thickness of the tiles, of how cool those little workers look, the production is amazing. The rulebook does a really good job of teaching the game, and you also have a solo mode that is very legit. Basically, I didn't see much of a difference playing against the automa as playing true multiplayer. So, very impressive. I am very impressed with Apiary. We have a middleweight, middle heavy-ish slightly. There's heavier stuff out there, but maybe not, for casual players. But for regular players, then you have a mid-weight worker placement game and tableau building game that works very well, plays very well, and looks stunning.